everybody. Welcome to another episode of our program feature series where we speak to representatives from a specific program for their insights and experiences in the program itself and how it helped prepare them for their career afterwards. My name is David. I'm in the film and television production program. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm a digital content creator here at Life at Humber. And today I'm joined by the folks from the Paralegal Studies program within the Faculty of Business. And my guests include Caitlyn McCann, a current student in the program, Paige Diebel, a senior paralegal and graduate of the program, and Aron, professor and program coordinator of the Paralegal Studies program. So before we get started, maybe we'll just go a quick round and have our guests speak a little bit more about themselves. Maybe their pronouns, their current positions, or past experiences, and feel free to include like a fun fact about yourself, like maybe what you're looking forward to doing in the summer now that things are hopefully opening up a bit. So maybe we'll start with you, Caitlyn. Sorry, Caitlyn, I think you're muted.
Pardon me, guys. Sorry about that. My name is Caitlyn McCann. I'm currently a student at Humber. I'm in my third year right now. And I guess a fun fact about me is that I'm spending my summer with my family up at the cottage.
Awesome, great. And your pronouns?
My pronouns are she and her.
All right, great. And Paige?
Hey, I'm Paige Diebel. I'm a graduate of the program. I graduated in 2015. I presently work as a senior paralegal at Mason Kaplan Rohde LLP. It's a downtown Toronto law firm specializing in insurance law. And fun fact about me is this summer I hope to maybe go to a restaurant once I'm fully vaccinated and they open up. Yeah,
I'm sure that's definitely something that's on a lot of people's plans for sure. And
for sure.
And sorry, your pronouns?
Oh, sorry. There's she, her, David.
No, okay. And Bernie?
Yes, my name is Bernie Aron. I'm program coordinator of the Paralegal Study degree program. My initials are EM. I've been, I guess, with the program now since it was launched back in 2003. And for the summer, I enjoy nice wine, so I'm planning to go down to the Niagara region and visit a few of the vineyards there.
Awesome, great. And sorry, Paige. I know you're on your mobile and you're streaming vertical right now. From my view, like I think if you could raise your camera up a bit. I'm not sure if your view is different from your end, but yeah.
Like that, David?
You could go a little more. You give yourself a bit more headroom.
I might even just have to hold it.
Oh, okay, right. Oh.
Yeah, because it's if I set it down right here, it's a bit too.
Oh, okay. Well, regardless, whatever's most comfortable for you. It's just that your eyes are actually kind of cut off right now from this view.
Let me see if I can somehow get a bit of verticality here.
And I should say to our
That's better.
viewers,
That's better.
Yeah, that's great now. Awesome.
You guys can see me. Hopefully it stays. It's
yeah.
a very situation.
If our viewers are watching, feel free to leave some comments for our guests in the chat. We'll hopefully have some time at the end to get to them. And if you're watching the recording, feel free to leave us a comment as well. So without further ado, thank you all for joining, and let's get started. So what inspired you to kind of choose this program or this career, like the legal field as a whole? So Caitlyn, maybe we'll start with you.
Well, when I was growing up, I was always told that I was opinionated and that, I'd make a great lawyer or a great advocate. So as I got older and I started to understand the legal system more and how it interacted with social justice, which was something I was always really passionate about, I started to realize that there was a real career moving forward that I could kind of combine my interests with not only speaking my opinion, but actually helping people as well. And I found this program to be incredibly beneficial, providing me the foundation and actually building up my confidence, which was really, really important.
Yeah, I think one thing that school is great for is to not only kind of learn the kind of technical or theory stuff, but it's also like to build those professional skills. Like I think confidence is kind of like in sort of something that some people might overlook, things that you can develop on, like, and maybe we'll talk about this on what future students could look for, but even students that might not feel comfortable like speaking or fully confident in public, they might not be considering a field like this, but I think if they want to go into this program, that's something that will definitely be developed.
You'll still have so many opportunities to build your confidence, and I can't express the importance of written advocacy. Not everybody's going to be an oral advocate. You don't have to be a litigator up in court. It is so, so important to lay a foundation, and all of that foundation is put into writing. So I really think that there's a career here for anybody who really feels like they appreciate the legal system, they find it interesting, they love to read. I'd say that was probably the most important part. And yeah, anything else in between, you will build up over time and with experience.
Awesome, yeah. And Paige, how about you?
Well, I wasn't sure, actually, when I first started considering degrees, what I wanted to get into. But I have some family that's in law. My father has been in business for his entire life. And I just thought, maybe there's a natural inclination like this. Like Caitlyn, I had showed an interest in advocacy at a young age. I was part of the debate team in high school. And I was also considered a good public speaker, having competed in numerous competitions, including, spelling bees and speech competitions themselves. So I figured, why not? Let's give it a shot. And it was a great fit. I knew from year one that this was the path that I was made for, so to speak. Yeah.
Awesome. And Bernie, like what maybe speaking from like kind of the program coordinator, why do you think students should if not this program specifically, maybe the field as a whole? Or I guess maybe why come to this program specifically?
Right. Well, it helps to have a passion for law. I guess that's something that I developed early on. I was previously a legal editor involved in legal publications, and I enjoyed reading law and researching, and then gravitating into the teaching of law, and then helping to develop the program. And I think, with our program being 4 years, it does help to have that passion that you want to use law to help others, whether it's to help those who are disadvantaged, to help pursue the rights of people, of clients. So that can be a motivator. But that's what I've always enjoyed, being sort of seeped in the law, and I wasn't also involved in before. Coming to Humber, was involved in developing publications for the legal market, and we began then developing publications for the paralegal studies, and so there was a sort of a natural gravitating to the paralegal degree program.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So definitely from you probably have a lot of experience from way in the beginning of the program, and so I guess we'll start with you, Bernie. Then, what's your what would you say your favorite part of the program is?
Well, it is seeing the success of students, seeing them I guess advance in their studies. There's a progression. Maybe the first year they're uncertain, about the requirements. It is like learning a new language, law, with all the different principles.
Oh, really?
So seeing the progression, how students progress and gain a mastery of law, and then seeing the success of students in their career. Some students end up in careers that I might not have anticipated, but having a legal background can provide a good background for different careers. It's interesting on a personal note. Once going through customs at the Toronto airport, I had one of the officers, one of the Canada Border Agency officers was actually a graduate of our program. And I was surprised that that was a career that he pursued, but they appreciate the legal education. The students are able to gain a great grasp of the law and regulations, and so they actually favor our graduates. And actually, another time that what surprised me is I was actually stopped at a police checkpoint. I guess they were checking for impaired driving, and that's not something I would pursue. But it turned out the officer was another graduate. He addressed me by my name. He remembered me, and he went into policing. And then others go work in legal departments of government and corporations. So I think that's what brings me a lot of satisfaction to see what careers they can pursue in the traditional legal field and beyond.
Awesome! It's great to hear all of the places that that students can go. And speaking of which, Paige, how about you? What was your favorite part of the program?
Well, I really enjoyed the extracurricular aspect. Obviously, mooting. I started that in my first year and competed on a national level every year throughout my degree. But in terms of the courses themselves, I found the administrative law course very interesting. That's where we kind of get to learn about the various tribunals that paralegals can represent clients before, as well as the evidence class where we got to do a mock trial. And I didn't have it when I was in school, but the advocacy course now, which actually was a guest lecture on recently, seems to be a great course to get the students ready for in-court experiences and for advocating on behalf of a future client.
Cool. Awesome. And Caitlyn, how about you? You're kind of in the middle to end of it. What has been your kind of most enjoyable moments of the program?
I really did enjoy listening to Paige's presentation, my advocacy course this year, which was one of my favorite classes. She did a wonderful job, and I really did learn a lot from her. I actually really enjoy the criminal law courses. I do enjoy it. What the administrative tribunal course was amazing. I did enjoy small claims and tort, but I kind of lean more towards the criminal side of things. And I was lucky enough to really, really enjoy our professor, who's the Honorable Rick Livman. So we not only get somebody who has an incredible amount of experience, but we actually get somebody who has the perspective of an actual judge. So we get to kind of run our ideas past a decision maker, which is a very unique experience and something that I really, really appreciate. It's taught me a lot about just maintaining objectivity and definitely about court decorum, because, the second you walk in that class, it's basically like a mock trial every time. And I kind of find that fun. It definitely gives you some experience.
Yeah, and that's a cool kind of way to view it, and I guess that kind of leads to our next question is what did you kind of wish you knew on like your first day of class, or kind of what tips did you have for new students? I guess we'll start with you, Caitlyn. Do you think that treating maybe just for that one class, but maybe treating it like kind of like a real like a real legal situation was kind of helpful?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a huge believer in fake it till you make it, not because you're a fraud, but because you're going to learn something along the process. If you can kind of put yourself into that situation and say, I'm going to treat myself like a professional from day one, ideally everyone around you will also treat you like a professional. And I've had very good luck with that. As far as my actual piece of advice or my tip would be to be brave in whatever capacity you can be. If it's answering the question one time, if it's challenging somebody in a point because you think you have a very valid, justifiable point, you know how to frame it properly, take a chance, do it, take part in the conversation, because I think the fact-finding mission is very much part of the dialogue, and you need to have that back and forth. And I do find that fun. And I love hearing my other classmates' opinions. So I think, be brave, do it in the best way you can, try your best. And I think you'd be really, really surprised how much you will impress yourself when you actually do go up on that stage and you kind of push yourself a little bit more than you think that you could have. A lot of the times I've really surprised myself. And I think so that would be my biggest tip is, even if you're scared, give it a shot. I think you'll probably pull it off a lot better than you think you would.
Yeah, for sure. I think I heard it in another context, but I think it applies here that typically if you're scared or nervous, that probably means there's a good learning opportunity there. Paige, how about you? Like you have perspective, I guess, from both the student side and well, the professional, but also coming back to kind of teach side. So, any kind of tips you have?
So my number one thing would be, get involved. Be that, if you're an oral advocate, like Caitlyn was talking about, there are different kinds of advocates. So if you're an oral advocate, see if you can get involved in mooting, or the college has various clubs like the Toastmasters clubs. I believe there's another advocacy club as well. But if you're more of a paper advocate, there might be an opportunity at some point for a publication or to write, for the Humber Legal Journal of Access to Justice. That would be a great thing for you to try and get involved in. Just anything that you can get involved in at the start, great. And at the same time, if that doesn't lead to networking opportunities, then go out there and get involved in things like the paralegal associations, where you can kind of, meet other professionals and mentors who might be able to get you a job. I actually got my first job from competing at the Osgood Cup. So you really don't know. As for the coursework itself, my number one tip would be don't underestimate a course. For instance, I thought the insurance law course was going to be not that useful to me because I didn't plan on getting into highway traffic offenses. But in fact, my present job is with a subrogation law firm. Well, I'm not doing, traffic act offenses always. I do have motor vehicle accident claims, so I represent large insurance companies. And I do have other claims, which obviously involve around insurance, because subrogation is the process by which an insurer tries to claim back the amounts that it's paid out on a claim from the responsible parties. So a course that I honestly thought I did great at it, mind you, but I honestly thought I'm never going to use this, turned out to be a huge asset in my second job. So don't underestimate a course. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And Bernie, how about you? From seeing, you talked before about seeing students kind of succeed in the program. Do you have any tips from your experience?
Yeah, so I was going to say that, most students will succeed in the program. Sometimes maybe the hard part is getting into the program, but will succeed. I mean, if they apply themselves. And what's important is attending classes. There can be a tendency with the freedom coming maybe from high school that they may be selective in the class they attend, but it's a relatively short semester. It's 14 weeks with a midterm and finals. So there's 12 lessons in each course, and each one is meaningful. So it's important that they attend. I think that's number one. Also, I'd like to emphasize the fact that because a high percentage of the students will succeed and will have the opportunity to become paralegals and licensed paralegals, it's best right to start from day one to maybe act that part in that in order to become a licensed paralegal, not only do you have to succeed academically, you have to be of good character. And so it's important that these students begin to pay attention to that aspect. And so it's important perhaps who their friends are, who they're associating with, that you want to be very careful in your conduct. And you want to have friends and associates who are a positive influence. And unfortunately, some students don't give that enough attention, and then they have issues that way. So I do emphasize that. And as Paige indicated, there is a paralegal association, Ontario Paralegal Association, and they have student membership. I think it's only $25 to become a member, and they have educational seminars. They have networking. They're also setting up, I guess they call it a Zoom room, to help students find placements and actually participate in their placement. So that's an important connection. And for those who have challenges perhaps in public speaking, I think Paige mentioned, we do have chapters of the Toastmasters here at Humber, and so they can get practice in public speaking in a friendly environment. So these are some pointers, but the students shouldn't think, well, I'm going to be a paralegal in after fourth year, so that's when I really have to focus on my my personality or my traits, but it's important that character is important right from day one.
Yeah, I think one thing I heard in terms of like networking was that it is not only important to kind of network upwards, but also to network kind of like laterally, like and specifically, I think in school, your peers are definitely the people you want to, definitely make a good impression on. So I can definitely see where, you want to put the kind of the best foot forward, even for your own classmates.
I might just add, sorry, the point, I guess, that I think Caitlyn had mentioned about one of our faculty being a judge of the Ontario Court of Justice, is that also our professors can be useful in the networking, in helping them, giving guidance for their careers, and they help also, say, bridge the provide a bridge between the classroom and the courtroom. So we have many faculty who are deputy judges of the small claims court, and we have a justice of the peace, so they can be helpful, and they will actually allow the students, if they're able to actually shadow them in the courts and get firsthand insight into the court process. So the networking can be also with the faculty members.
Yeah, it's great. Sorry, Paige, did you have something you wanted to add as well?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I graduated in 2015. Like I was saying, you won't believe how many people that I have gone to school with or competed against at a mooting competition that I run into in my professional life. So yeah, what Bernie said is absolutely true. You really need to start being a professional and professionally minded from day one. Because yeah, I think even if you rack up enough traffic tickets, the disciplinary committee can pull you in. It would have to be a lot, I'm sure, but you wouldn't want to go through that, unfortunate process regardless.
Yeah.
Awesome. I guess I keep interrupting, but I guess the other aspect this highlights is trying to create a sense of community in the program. So we have creating a community while the students are in the program, interacting maybe through the mooting, through different clubs on campus, and then maintaining their connection with the program, like having Paige coming in and others coming in as guest lectures. We try to have guest lectures come into first year to our graduates to perhaps be role models for the students. And if the students go beyond their program, and perhaps some do go on to law school, is keeping connected to them, perhaps helping them getting articling positions, and we've had some graduates actually become part-time faculty in our program. So it does help create this community. Once the student graduates, we don't want to lose connection with them. We keep up to date, or try to keep current with them.
Yeah, Sorry, Paige, you wanted to add?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, I always thought, that when I was done with Humber, that we might have the little networking, here and there at some professional events, but I didn't think that it would be super involved. But I'm a Humber mooting coach now since 2018, and I sit on the advisory committee. And like you've said, I've been a guest lecturer for the advocacy course. So if you don't really want to leave Humber, you don't really have to, it turns out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the students would really benefit from that as well. So the aspect of community is something that I kind of want to dive into. I'm just curious, specifically for Caitlyn and Paige, like what things or activities did you to get involved with at Humber as a student, whether and it could also be program related or even non-program related. Like, I'm curious about, some might think that, some might have an impression that this is all like you have to hit the books a lot and it's all like work, but, just, some might want to know kind of like what social aspects the program could also afford as well. And especially, so maybe we'll start with you, Caitlyn, and maybe we'll start on what's been mentioned a few times, like the mooting competitions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so maybe for students that aren't familiar, could you go over exactly what mooting is?
Well, I'll go over a little bit, and then I'd love to have Coach Paige really kind of go in from there if that's possible. But
sure,
in the briefest terms, a moot is kind of similar to a mock trial. However, we're approaching an appeal. So we're going to basically make that on either a fact or the law, which means that your argument is significantly slimmer. So it's a little bit more challenging than, say, a mock trial would be. In that respect, you also have to make both sides of the argument. So you have to make it for the appellant and for the respondent, which means you don't really get to pick your side. You have to pick how to argue, and you have to pick an issue, and you have to make your argument, and you really just kind of got to stick to it. And that's through questioning and through a submission process. So it's really, really interesting. I had a lot of fun with it. I did well with my first year. And to be honest, it also was kind of nice for networking as well. You meet a lot of people throughout the process. Under better circumstances, you actually get to meet them in person. And there's a lot of really great potential career opportunities that kind of go on from there as well.
Yeah, and Paige, you were involved, and in some sense, I guess you still are involved with the mooting competition as well.
Got started in my first year. I remember Professor Peter Littman, may he rest in peace, he's no longer with us, was teaching small claims and was very, supportive of this mooting competition at Osgood. And I was just, what is this? And, he explained it's a national competition where basically you prepare arguments for two sides, the appellant and the respondent. The case is typically a Supreme Court case. So it involves, constitutional issues, criminal issues. And the idea is that you're appealing it from the highest court. So you're going to this competition and you're acting as though, okay, now we're appealing this again. And as such, like I said, you prepare two sets of submissions. So you basically have to prepare 7 to 10 minutes of argument for two sides as to why, a court should rule in your favor. It's entirely on, I think, as Caitlyn had mentioned, questions of law. So there's no, weighing of the evidence or trying the fact. It's just, has the lower court erred in some way on a legal basis in their decision? So you prepare for that. It takes about 4 weeks of sessions. There's typically about one session that's held officially with the college and the coaches, coach or coaches. It varies on the year. And then in between, there's opportunities. I always take the time to circulate a memorandum for students, giving them an outline of the case. And then I'll also meet with the students independently and review their submissions. So, but you only get the 4 weeks typically. So it's very, I guess what I'm trying to say, it's a very time crunch scenario, especially because typically during that time, the students are also completing assignments or, preparing for finals. So needless to say, in my first year, I was intimidated. But after I kind of got going with it, I realized that this is something I excel at. In my first year, I placed in the quarterfinals at Osgood, which at the time was an unprecedented thing for the college.
Oh, nice.
And went on, obviously, to compete at Osgood every year, and then the Capital Cup as well, which is the competition that is held in Ottawa. The finals are held at the Supreme Court of Canada and the Federal Court of Appeal, which is a beautiful building, if you've ever seen it. So you get the opportunity, obviously, to travel. I don't know if that will be, always an opportunity, but you get the opportunity to, go to Ottawa and to see the sites there and to meet people from different schools, which is very, beneficial, obviously, for the networking standpoint, but also to kind of get you, a feel for what are other people in the profession going to be like. So yeah, I was very heavily involved in mooting. Outside the program, I was also very heavily involved in the Lakeshore athletics activities. So there's like a host of fitness classes that the college does, which is great when you want to blow off some steam from all that hard studying, so that was a welcome reprieve too. It's good to have that, that balance between, getting rid of the stress, and basically going to the competition is stressful, but it's also very rewarding as well. Yeah.
You mentioned that the competition is like a kind of like a 4 weeks of sessions. And I guess maybe either you or Caitlyn, what maybe describe those sessions like is this kind of like an opportunity for I don't know if you're placed in teams or how it works, but like is it like, do you learn from each other, or is it kind of like studying the cases and learning and kind of like trying to teach yourself, or like I'm just curious like what kind of like the experience is like? Sorry, Caitlyn,
Do you want to go ahead, Paige, or do you want me to have that one?
Oh, I think but I can address it just briefly, and then if you want, you can go into it.
Yeah, I can give you the student perspective if you like. Give them the formal rundown as the coach. I think it's best to get all the I's and T's and everything.
Yeah, for sure. So usually the first couple of sessions, not a lot of people have fully prepared submissions at that point. So what I'll usually do is I'll go over the memorandum. We'll do kind of like a roundtable discussion. For instance, what are the main issues? What kind of questions pop up when we make this argument? And we'll kind of do like a brainstorming session, usually for the first two. But after the first two sessions, it is expected that the students have a prepared submission, be it for one side or the other. And we usually do a formal presentation of that. This is a key session because there's obviously the submission component. But if you went up there with a script for both sides and you just looked down and read from it the entire time, I can tell you right now, you would not win. You would not place. You would not be a high scorer in that competition. And the reason why is because the written component is part of your advocacy ability, but it's not the full component. You need to be able to engage in an open and natural dialogue with the bench, just as you would in a regular courtroom setting. Like when I go and make submissions at a motion, before the court, I don't look down at my paper all the time. I have an idea of, okay, these are the arguments that I have in support of my client. I make those arguments, and if the judge has a question, I respond in real time. I'm not like, just a sec, let me refer to this 20-page, notebook, Your Honor. I think the judge would be rather, miffed if that was the response from me. So it's expected that you know your case and that you're able to engage in a dialogue, and this is no different in moot. It's the same thing. The only difference is, the limit and scope of your arguments is quite different because, like we've kind of said, it's, before an appellate court and it's on, facts of law, not the retrying of the evidence. So, so those are kind of the sessions. And then, like I said, there are in-betweens if the students want to go over notes. But otherwise, we get ready for competition weekend, and the competition is a 2-day thing held at the school, or this year was held virtually. This year was the first time it's been held virtually. So it was a huge sense of pride to have Caitlyn and Anders place as the 7th ranked team out of, I believe it was 49 or 50 teams.
Congratulations.
And to have Caitlyn place as a top advocate. So that would be, out of like 100 students that she had placed as one of the top 10. So I mean, it was amazing. And this is not the first time that the Humber College has had success before mooting competitions. I mean, if you look back, I believe in 2019 was our first time that we had placed in the semifinals at the Osgood Cup. And we did that 2 years in a row, so 2018 and 2019. So, and every year we've had a top advocate, or even the top advocate, the #1 speaker. So it's been a huge, sense of accomplishment for the college to have excelled at this competition. And I mean, that's why I can't say enough good things about the mooting program. As you can tell, it's done great things for the college.
Yeah. So, Caitlyn, what was your experience like then? In terms of taking part in it and then being recognized as a distinguished participant.
Well, and thank you. But I'd say my experience was very much defined by picking the right partner. I think that's really, really important because you get to work and play. And we did. And we had a lot of fun discussing the issues. And it was somebody who, my friend Anders, who I did pick to go with me, who is part of the program, he thinks differently than I do inherently on a lot of issues. So we have a natural back and forth dialogue that creates challenges where he sees holes in my logic and vice versa. So what that kind of does is create like a kind of a weave where I'm covering the holes in his logic, he's covering the holes in mine, and that way we get more of a rounded approach of what the issues were, and I think that was really helpful. Also, just to have somebody be honest with you, that's not a great argument. I don't think that's your strongest point. You need to have a certain amount of trust and credibility with people to kind of be that level of honest with them. And I do think you need to be that kind of objective with yourself when you are about to go before the bench, or even a mock bench in this point, because we are, again, you got to treat yourself like a professional, even if you aren't quite there yet. Outside of that, it's like you do everything else. If you put the foundation into what you do into your classwork, I do think that it comes out in things like mooting. So if you want to make sure you excel in something like that in particular, just make sure you're carrying your weight day to day. That includes on your coursework, that includes on your interactions with professors, so you can get the best out of them, get the best advice out of them. And I do find that you find, like, the proof's in the pudding, and it will show up a lot of the time if you're doing the work.
I was just going to add a sort of an interesting side point here is that the case, by the way, I was going to say, as far as with Caitlyn, she's an excellent example of time management skill, and she's wearing different hats and manages her time very well. So it's she needs to be complimented for that. I was going to say that the one of the justices of the Supreme Court of Canada, Rosalie Abella, is actually retiring. I think she reaches 75 on July 1st. And the Globe and Mail did an article, a 3-page article on her. And she indicated one of her favorite cases was what's called the Nevson case, which the students actually had to moot at this year's Osgood Cup. It was the first time a case dealt with international human rights and Canadian court dealing with that. And so it was a very difficult case that Paige had to coach the students on, that Caitlyn had to present. And it's interesting, actually, that Humber actually gave her, Rosalie a few years ago, an honorary degree, and she spoke to our students. And
Nice.
So just that connection, and then the fact that when they participate in the Capital Cup, they're actually arguing their case at the Supreme Court. So it's sort of a full circle there. And I guess on a personal note, I actually knew Justice Abella from law school. She was in law school around the same time, so I sort of know her on a personal side. But it's just nice, again, this community connection that develops, in sort of full circle in this example.
Yeah, I think everything you said so far really shows that it pays to get involved. And it's cool that the program seems to have lots of kind of ways to get that hands-on experience, and I know that within the program, speaking of hands-on experience, there's also like internships and co-ops, or you can correct me on the specifics, but like I just like to dive into that. Like maybe you could speak to the opportunities to get actual work experience. So
Right. If I could just maybe add in there that I guess unlike the diploma program, the degree program, the students are required to do 420 hours of work placement between third and fourth year. The Law Society requires a minimum of 120 hours under the supervision of a licensed lawyer or paralegal. And for the degree program, we have the additional 300 hours. And we have a very strong placement advisor who helps the students land these positions. And because the program's been around a number of years, we have graduates who are now in a hiring position who are able to, are hiring students for placements or for graduation. And I know that, I guess Paige has been a good advocate for the program. I think she has a few of our grads working at the firm, and one of our grads who went on to law school is now an associate at the firm. And we have a connection with the Department of Justice Canada in Toronto, where they, for the field placement, only hire students from the paralegal degree program. So we can help students get placements and use the connections that we have. And also with law being more complex as we go along, the employers are looking more for degree students to work as legal assistants, as paralegals. So our students are well positioned, to fill the needs of the firms, both law firms and paralegal firms.
Awesome, yeah. So and maybe to elaborate on the specifics of that, Caitlyn, since you're going into your fourth year, like what's your experience been? Trying to find an internship? Was it hard, or did kind of all your previous work with the being involved kind of pay off?
It definitely paid off. But yeah, it did. COVID's had a huge economic effect, and I think that trickles down to everything. And I do think that has some effect on certain firms' willingness to engage with co-op students. And this was definitely initially. Obviously, now it's lightening up and things are quite a bit different. However, what I found was that my GPA, my work in mooting, and just really the confidence I had that I gained through the program, through speaking in public, really got me through that interview and got me the ability to negotiate when I started. I also have a child, so my time, like Bernie has mentioned, needs to be managed to a finite point. They were willing to work with me because I think I stood out from the pack, respectfully, and I got a lot of great opportunities with them that other co-op students that I had that were from other schools didn't get. I actually got my first in-court appearance through that co-op, and no one else at that time was allowed to do that. And that was because I had earned credibility through the mooting program, and I was celebrated when I won and I had that accomplishment. So they said, you know what, you've proved yourself here, let's kind of see what you can do there. And I was able to kind of establish that I could do it. And over time I was able to do multiple, and now I know when I'm ready to work, I can at least say, strike off the book. I've already done this once, and I do feel confident doing it. And that's a very unique opportunity that, quite frankly, not everybody gets, and I feel very, very grateful for. But I do feel confident that if you put the time in and the work in, and you make a point of having those markers and those resume buffers, that you can ensure that type of stuff for yourself. And you can end up like Paige did, where you're graduating into a position, and in 2 years you can negotiate a higher salary and a better job. And that's really what it's all about. Is this is a leg up program for people who want to do the extra 10%. And I do think it shows in those hours that we do. And especially when we're done working, I think we are fully almost made professionals by that point.
Yes, I was just going to also add that I know we've been emphasizing the oral advocacy and how that strengthens students for their career and for obtaining positions, but we also emphasize the writing aspect of law. For some, that might be the skill that the student wishes to emphasize and pursue, and that's helpful. And we have a Humber Journal of Paralegal Access to Justice, which is published by Thomson Reuters Canada. It gives the students an opportunity to prepare articles for this journal, and that can help them if they want to do post-grad studies. Again, some might use it if they're applying to law school, or it helps them when they're applying for positions to show their scholarship and writing skills. So we also emphasize that aspects because the mooting may not be for everyone, but the writing can be equally important. Of course, they are connected. I mean, you have to develop your written advocacy before you can present it orally. But so for those who might be maybe concerned that they're not the one who maybe wants to stand up in the courtroom, there's other responsibilities that paralegals have in doing research, preparing cases for trial, and doing compliance work. So there's other aspects to a paralegal's duties.
Yeah, I think that's great for students to know, and it's also great to know that there's that there's different chances in the program to try out different things. So even if you might not think you're comfortable in one field until you try it, and it's good to know that Humber offers lots of opportunities to do that. Yeah. So Paige, what was your experience like when think back to like when you were a student and trying to get that your co-op or internship?
I think like I kind of touched on, I got my first job through Moot, and that was in my second year of the program. I think it was the first semester. So I started off with that position very early. The co-op position is typically in the third year during the summer, so you've already completed a full 3 years. So I was about a year and a half earlier than most students in terms of getting started with my placement. And I worked for a sole proprietor. I was the first employee in an employment and labor law firm. And they also did human rights. So we did everything. Like we were at first just, like a satellite office where we would go to the office, meet with clients once a week. I would have my coursework, and then I'd work remotely throughout the week preparing, various documents and pleadings, and then we'd submit them that way. And it took us a while to get an actual, physical office. But I was the first employee, so I did, process serving, drafting letters, cease and desist, so to speak, and drafting plaintiff's claims, drafting motion material. So it was really a full, experiential kind of component of my education, where I literally learned how to do everything that I now do regularly in my profession. So with the exception of serving, I have a process server for that now, but at the time, a useful experience for sure. So I basically stuck with that firm up until graduation. And then, like Caitlyn said, I used the fact that, I've been working for quite a while in the industry to, make a bit of a career move there. And now I work for my present firm. But for me, it was very different. I didn't obviously go through the placement, center. I kind of went out there. I grasped a hold of an opportunity. I was working for a food service restaurant at the time. So very different. I wasn't sure, this is going to be basically Bay Street from, second year. But I'm so happy that I took advantage of that, because, I gained a lot from that role. And I still, can only say great things about my boss. He's a true champion of the employment law field, and highly respectable within his field. So yeah, and I've only had great bosses since. I've been so lucky. I know some people say that they've had not so great experiences in the legal field, because there's a lot of strong personalities. But my present boss, just the best. So I've loved my experiences in the field so far, and so happy I chose to be a paralegal.
I was just going to add too, when you had a position for a short time up in Ottawa, I think you said you had an office where you could see the Parliament buildings, and you were working with a retired justice of the Supreme Court.
So I moved to Ottawa briefly with my former partner, and while I was there, I was actually employed with one of the national law firms. And I mean, you'll know from the justice that I'm talking about, but I worked for 3 lawyers, and one of them was Justice Cromwell. So I remember sending Bernie a photo of a couple days in, saying, you'll never guess whose office is literally right behind mine, because he also worked out of Vancouver, but he also had a post in Ottawa. And Bernie's like, well, who is it? I'm like, it's Justice Cromwell, and he's the sweetest man. There's stories and people say, oh, this person isn't really like what you think they'll be like, or you think he'll be very reserved or stern because he's, a former justice Supreme Court. The nicest man. On the last day that I was with the firm, when I decided to move, back to Toronto, he came up to me and he said, Paige, I just want to, thank you for your time here. And I was shocked, because it was less than a half a year that I worked for him, and only in limited capacity, like I said, because he also had the Vancouver office. But he gave me this beautiful yellow flower and a card, saying all the best in your future endeavors. And he was the only person that even gave me some. I wasn't expecting anything like that, but I just figured, wow, that he's just such a nice guy and such a professional. And if you ever get the opportunity to meet him, I would highly recommend it. But so it's crazy where the field can take you.
Right. I think he might have been a former law professor as well, I think, at Dalhousie.
Yeah.
That's a nice story.
Yeah.
I still keep the card. It's like, my piece of law fame, I suppose.
Right.
Yeah, it's always surprising who you'll run into where. So yeah, I think so stories like that are I always love to hear them. You mentioned a thing about about some people in the field have like strong personalities, and it's kind of tying to to kind of what I asked about the about tips for starting the program. Like, do you have any tips for students like graduating, going and kind of beginning their careers? Like, I know we talked a lot about how the program as a whole is great in terms of preparing you to think and and prepare and act like a professional, but like any tips for that and I guess it's probably for Bernie and Paige specifically, but maybe even Caitlyn, for the younger students from your work experience, any tips on what to expect for once you get into an actual law, like an office or like a job?
Yeah. So, I mean, just in terms of the strong personalities in the field, people that you work with or people that you might go up against in court, the important thing is to be professional. It is not like an episode of Suits. You are not going to get anywhere by being, vindictive or aggressive to opposing counsel. You will not look good in front of a judge uh, or a jury if you ever get that opportunity to become a lawyer. But I mean, you just have to be professional and at your best. The other thing is, you want to think about the type of role you're getting into. For instance, if you maybe don't want to be an assistant or working under somebody, because that could pose some difficulties, you would probably want to be in a more independent role, like a law clerk or a paralegal. So these are things you kind of want to be conscientious about. And then, obviously looking for a good place to work. Like, what is it like to work there? Like, ask them, what are the lawyers I'll be working for? And do your best at a role. Don't give up and don't burn bridges. You might absolutely hate, a job that you have, but it's so important that you don't, misrepresent yourself or be unprofessional. You just try and deal with the situation as best as you can and, ask for accommodation if necessary. If you're working under somebody who you maybe don't jive with, see if it's possible to, work with somebody else. It's just best to, try and be a professional throughout your career and don't give up very easily. I've seen people give up great positions and it hasn't worked out great for them. So it's often best just to take the safe road and just be a professional. At the end of the day, you can only do so much to please people. I've been an absolute, I would say, gem to some of the worst opposing counsels out there. And, they haven't lessened up, and that's fine. I walked out of there knowing that I represented myself professionally. So as long as you can say that at the end of the day, I think you'll do well in the industry. And yeah, you do have to have a bit of a resilience, because there are people that still think that law is practiced as it is on Suits, unfortunately. I'm here to share that with you. There are people that think that they're on, like an episode of Law and Order or something like that. And you just have to, okay, well, this is what we're working with. All right. Prepare yourself accordingly. Yeah.
It's great to keep in mind.
If I can add that maybe unlike other university degrees, we help the students get positions for their field placement, and that can often, if they do well in their field placement, that can end up with getting an offer of a full-time position. But we help students with resumes, with doing interviews, helping them with networking. That's where it comes in. I've always emphasized to students that they should acquire a suit that can be any color as long as it's black. That it helps them look professional for interviews and when they're in courts and tribunals. I always say it doesn't have to be expensive, but a person looks professional. So we help them, how to engage in an interview, what to say, to be a good listener, and that the resumes, we spend a lot of time getting the students to have a proper resume. And I tell them, if there's one mistake, one spelling mistake, you're not going to get an interview. And so the student might send out 50 resumes and they get no response. Well, often I look at it and there's a few grammatical errors, spelling. It has to be perfect. When you're doing an assignment, you do the best you can, and it's good if it's well done. For a resume, it has to be perfect, and we give them a template to work on, and I'll emphasize it, and the students will say, yeah, but my high school counselor told me to do it this way. But we have field tested resumes that work, and so we try to get the students to follow that, and they get results. So that's number one. You won't get an interview, you won't get a response without your proper resume. And we even tell the students, when there isn't the social distancing, is to deliver it to the firm personally, not just send it through the mail, to get that to interact. And perhaps the receptionist is a Humber graduate or knows someone, or they might not have a position at their firm, they might know another position. So sometimes it's that personal contact, and these things work. So we help them. Whereas I think in a university, you cross the stage, get your degree, and you're on your own. And that's not the case with the Humber degrees.
It's great to hear. And Caitlyn, did you have anything to add or share?
I was going to say, in relation to working in the office, I think this has just been true over any professional experience I've had, including some of the work I did in politics before. But the respect you treat other people with is the respect you'll get back. If not necessarily from that person, then at minimum from the people around you who are listening. And I think that's important. Because even if that person you're engaging with isn't going to come up to your level, you stooping down to theirs is not going to benefit you in the long run from anybody who's watching the conversation, anybody overhearing. So I think you set your own boundaries, you have to follow through, and you have to kind of hold yourself accountable. If I treat somebody less than I would want to be treated, then I need to hold myself accountable. I need to do what I would want to be done in that situation. Got to be an adult. I think we're all capable of that. And as you get more experience just in life, period, a lot of these things come natural. But if you lead with, I want to be treated a certain way, so I'm going to treat other people a certain way, you're probably going to be fine.
Yeah, no, that's a regardless of what you do. I think that those are great words to kind of conduct yourself by. All right, so
I might say, if I can add another point, it has been suggested too, when you land the position, is maybe find a mentor in that office, someone who maybe you can go to for some guidance, and often there is that person. It may mean staying after hours to discuss some issues because you want to do it when they're not preoccupied by other things. But a mentor can be very important. And also you have to, for field placement, you are in a way auditioning for further employment. So you have to be careful about, doing your job, not trying separate your personal life from your work, not engage in personal conversations at maybe the lunch break or coffee break, but during your working hours, focus on your position. There's a temptation with the rapid communications that we have is to be distracted by personal calls and communication, but just focus on your job. That's because you will be noticed. And also, if you do good work, the word gets around. We had one student working at a major law firm, and she was doing excellent work, and the lawyers were lining up to hand her work. Now, you have to make sure you can handle it all. Other students were not getting any work, and they were wondering why. And it's, the word gets around, and if you do a good job, it'll benefit you for sure.
If I can speak to that, we have 3 paralegals, including myself, who work here from Humber's paralegal degree program, 1 lawyer from Humber's paralegal degree program. And we've hired, numerous placement students, and one of them is currently a paralegal. So, I mean, you don't know where the field placement can take you. And in terms of hiring, like Bernie said, I've been involved in hiring some of the student paralegals and the interns. And the resume is absolutely the first thing that we look at. And when I've got promoted to being a senior paralegal here, I also took on the role of mentoring some of the students. I've mentored 2 students here, and one of them was from the Humber Paralegal Degree Program. And both of them, that was something that I instilled them, right from the beginning, is that this is going to be grabbing coffee. This is going to be preparing pleadings. You're going to, come with me to court, and really making sure that it was a comprehensive experience. So you do get the opportunity at the placement, to actually see what it's like to be in the field. It's not always going to be just an administrative role. So take full advantage of it.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So I think we'll start wrapping it up here. There aren't any questions to answer from viewers. So I guess if folks listening, have questions about the program or about some of your experiences, is there any way they can reach out? Like, Bernie, where can they learn more about the program?
I'm sorry, did you have a question?
But Bernie, if any current students or prospective students want to learn more about the program,
yes, yes, they should. Yeah, feel free to contact me at my email address at bernard.aron@humber.ca, and I do check my emails most days, and I will be in close contact actually over the summer. I get emails now from students who are applying or registering for the summer, or the registration, I believe, is later, might be the third week in July that they register for the fall and select their electives. So I am available to answer their queries that they have. So that email is a good one to utilize.
Connect
Awesome.
with me. You can do so on LinkedIn. It's Paige Diebel, exactly. I'll spell it out. It's Paig as in George E, and then my last name is Diebel. D as in Delta, IE, B as in Bob, EL. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions you might have about getting involved in mooting or getting involved in the field, seeing what opportunities you might have. And like I said, we've hired graduates and summer students, so that's always a possibility. If an opening becomes available, I'm more than happy to take resumes.
Awesome, great. So yeah, if there's is there anything any of you would like to add before we sign off?
I was just gonna add, if anyone wanted to contact Caitlyn, they certainly could do it through me. They can send me an email, and I can forward it to her if they want to get some insight into studying in the program and career opportunities.
All right, great. Yeah. So yeah, thank you all for I guess thank you for being my guest here and sharing your experiences, and thank you for putting out your contact information for anyone that wants to learn more about the program. Thank you, everyone that's watching, for tuning in. It's always appreciated. And if you're watching the recording and you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. And if there's a program you want to hear from in the future, feel free to let us know as well. So thank you, everybody. And once again, thanks Paige, thank you Bernie, and thanks Caitlyn. And I'll see you all next time. Bye, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye for now.